My name is Kevin Williams from KWP, and I've been asked to talk a little bit about the location-based entertainment sector, but also to invite our guests today. And I'd like to have them introduce themselves first, and then we will jump into the discussion. So please, Juliana.
Good morning or afternoon for everyone who's watching. My name is Juliana Barbieri. I am the Senior Vice President of Content and Partnerships with the International Tennis Hall of Fame. The International Tennis Hall of Fame is in Newport, Rhode Island, and is dedicated to preserving the history of tennis, celebrating its champions to inspire fans globally. And we just stepped into the world of metaverses this year, and I think that's what brings me to you all today.
Hi, I'm Jason Ambler. I'm president of digital media at Falcons Beyond. We're an Orlando-based experiential entertainment company. We build and master plan theme parks, resorts, entertainment venues. We also produce all the content, interactive content, gaming software, and then we also have several resorts and theme parks that we own and operate, as well as our own content, which includes some things that cross into metaverse territory. So happy to be here.
Thank you both for being here. My name is Kevin Williams. I'm from KWP, and I'm a specialist in the out-of-home entertainment, so mainly on the immersive side. I also published the Stinger report, which I know a number of you are subscribers to. But fundamentally, really, we have gathered together a group to talk about the metaverse, but from a physical point of view. The digital to physical approach is an interesting one. Most people's perceptions of the metaverse are from the cloud-based virtual environments, Second Life, sorry, the Horizon World kind of system, where in reality, the first applications of the metaverse are from physical environments that are now expanding themselves by using a network or a cloud-based system to join together both the external and the physical approach. Just so everyone that is watching this understands the bigger picture regarding location-based entertainment, the physical entertainment space, rather than being killed off by the recent global health issues, have grown phenomenally, mainly due to the usual thing with human beings, the need for social interaction. We are animals, but we're also animals that like to play and stay together. And the entertainment side of the sector, the social entertainment, the location-based entertainment, the family entertainment side has grown quite extremely over the last few years and last few months especially. And one of the best examples we've had recently in the news is the merger of Six Flags and Cedar Fair, one of the largest entertainment location-based entertainment facilities, rivaling the Disneys and the Universals, being created in this new landscape. Moving on from that, we see location-based entertainment facilities growing and building towards adding more and more immersive technology, both virtual reality, mixed reality. The issues are really that the most valuable component from our audience is their time. And they want to go to locations and venues where they can be together, play together, and come away with an urge to go back again. In our industry, we are trying to create dwell time, the individual to spend a long amount of time enjoying themselves, but also repeat visitation. We don't want them just to come once, we want them to come again and again. And this is where technology, this is where the metaverse, this is where immersion comes to play. But rather than me going into vast amounts of time trying to describe every facet of the industry, we're lucky to have two individuals that can give us a much better high altitude observation. Now, taking a sport or taking an existing game experience and then adding that to the metaverse, adding that to a location-based environment, adding physicality is a perfect segue, Juliana, to what you've been working on.
Yeah, a lot of what we do is, and why we even went down the path of the metaverse, is because we are located in Newport, Rhode Island. It's a tiny little seaside community. Tennis is a global sport. It's I think it's the fourth most popular sport in the world. But it's unrealistic to think that all of those global fans are going to be able to make it to Newport, Rhode Island to see the home of where their heroes and the legends are in our museum, in the historic grounds that have had professional tennis on them since 1881. And because of that, with our digital innovation partner, Infosys, we came up with this concept of how can we immerse more people into what we have here in Newport and do it in a way that might also be interactive. And that's how we started down the path of building out a metaverse. Up to this past year, we had built out digital exhibits, so that might focus on one thing like rackets or tennis ball cans or fashion, for instance. But that was a very one-dimensional experience where you would scroll through and read and learn about something, but you couldn't interact. Whereas what we went on to create in this past year was more immersive, and you could be in that metaverse at the same time as somebody else, and also getting the experience of what the grounds look like, a small portion of it, what the exterior of the building looks like, a small portion. The interior, I have to say, we changed very drastically to be more grand. But that's how we ended up into this world of trying to provide something to people that we know are just never going to make it here to Newport.
One thing that I would like to ask both of you, but I will jump in quickly now and ask you, what is your definition of the metaverse?
So it's a great question, because honestly, prior to us embarking on this, I'll be honest, I didn't really know what it was. And what I now think of it as is a space, I think of it as the next iteration of how we interact on the internet. And it gives us, and just to elaborate a little bit further on that, is up to this point, we have all gone to the internet, searched what we've needed to search, or gone to the web page we need for that one-dimensional experience. And I think the metaverse now provides that in a more holistic space for you, where you can either interact with other people or interact with objects, and you can drive your experience. You get to choose, as opposed to what we have, what is just on the page in this scroll-like format. So that's why I think it's the next iteration of where we had how we experience the internet.
Now, we in the out-of-home entertainment sector have seen a real explosion in active entertainment. Active entertainment, physicality, the Beat Saber syndrome, but also we in the out-of-home entertainment sector have also had exergame, which is the application of game elements to the exercise component. Do you have that kind of outlook within the developments that you're working on?
Yeah, so we did put a game element into our metaverse. There is a very famous, when you come into the Hall of Fame, there's this arch, you walk in from the main street, and it opens out onto what we call a horseshoe court, because the building that surrounds it is in the shape of a horseshoe, and beyond that are all the other courts. But it's a very picturesque, beautiful, iconic spot. And so we put into the metaverse experience that once you've gone through the museum, you could go and play a game of virtual tennis on the horseshoe court. So that is something that we put in. And the other game type piece that we put into our metaverse is that as you go through and explore, you can answer trivia questions, you can try to collect points, and with those points you can get digital collectibles. We didn't go so far as to make NFTs out of them, but you can collect different other artifacts that are in our collection. So you could get a Steffi Graf racket or a gold medal or something to that effect that you could put in your digital collectible, which would, if you create your avatar, that will stay with you each time you come back. So there's a lot of trivia. And then there is the Pong-like version, for those of you who are familiar with Pong-like version of playing tennis on the horseshoe court.
Yes, I'm always unhappy that NFTs kidnap the trophy component, because trophies had already proven themselves as collectibles, collectibles in the entertainment sector. And NFTs kind of have a de rigueur attitude at the moment with the audience. But, when you say you can collect trophies and you can customize your avatar, I think everybody gets it.
Yeah.
So we've talked really about an application which is unique in many experiences, which is creating an environment that is compelling and to bring people into that space and help them grow and also interact with people that would not normally be able to travel to a location or a facility. So we're combining an audience both digitally and physically. That's my segue to you, Jason. Really, your experience looked at the physical facilities and now is embracing both a metaverse approach. Am I correct?
Yes, and I actually want to roll back to one of your earlier questions about defining the metaverse, because I think it's important to establish definitions, and I think people have different interpretations of it. And I think maybe even sometimes I call the metaverse the M word, because it kind of gets commandeered for different marketing purposes and may not actually represent the true vision and ambition of what the metaverse maybe truly is. But I'll give you kind of my take on what the metaverse is. And I'll start with the idea that now is very prevalent in content, which is the idea of multiverse, right? The idea of these multiple universes that are standalone, and maybe they have their own economy, their own life cycle. I think a lot of games and internet applications and even 3D environments that are out there that people classify as the metaverse is really a multiverse, right? It's its own universe that is self-contained. So when I look at the word meta, I think about taking all those multiverses and putting an umbrella over top of them. So to me, what really makes the metaverse is actually the interoperability, or the interconnection and the transferability of value, whether it be trophies, whether it be points or coins, across different ecosystems. So that idea is not something that can be directly owned by anybody. That is where we talk about the next generation of the internet, right? It's a decentralized way of thinking, working, and interacting with content, but it's not necessarily somebody can have the only right to that. I think there will be companies that will rise to the top, like you think about in social media. There are several companies that are in social media, not necessarily one that completely owns and can capitalize on that type of platform. I think you're going to see that with what is deemed the metaverse itself, and it's a little bit of a high concept, but the idea of bringing value to your digital experience that then is transferable across experiences. That is ultimately what I think the metaverse is. It's more about having a unique identity and data set that you control and carry with you as you engage with different experiences. So with that said, yes, we're doing several different things to gamify and get that data from physical attractions, right? So we are putting in interactivity and identification markers on a per seat or per score basis for every single person in a physical activation that you would see in a game, right? Everyone has their own profile and their own points and their own customizations that they're making. Well, now by connecting your individual performance or participation or experience to a digital data set, now you can control, manipulate, and personalize your interactions and experiences when you check in to a specific attraction or game. It already knows who you are, what you've done, what your history is, and maybe with machine learning and some AI algorithms in place, it can actually predict where you want to go, or what's going to excite you or engage you the most. So I think that's where it crosses over into physical experience, is through individual identity management.
That's that's kind of been the dream for the entertainment sector for a long time. The ability to personalize the experience, be that a personalized experience created in sports where you can watch your skill and your growth and your fitness increase and collect your trophies, or the ability to have the perfect scavenger hunt where you move yourself around a facility, you collect items, and then when you get home, you can then utilize those items through either contact with other individuals or through social media.
Correct. Yeah, right.
I'm interested a little bit to know where you see the facility operator getting involved with that kind of approach.
Well, I think there's definitely headwinds in taking an existing facility or attractions and retrofitting this type of system. I don't think it's impossible, but it's certainly something that you want to bake into the pie, so to speak. That's something that we've done. Kevin, I know you had kind of tipped the hand a bit, saying that we have done that. We just opened up a new theme park, state-of-the-art theme park in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic earlier this year, which is doing exactly what I was talking about regarding have every single person having a unique identity, a unique experience, being able to update preferences and profiles that then change their experience with attractions. I think the most adaptable systems that are out there are, think of anything that is interactive or even arcades and things like that, where you can actually have something of a profile that is more than just holding your tickets, but it's actually holding your preferences, your proclivities, and maybe even enhancing that interactive experience because you've upgraded your laser beam or you've upgraded your boots. And now when you engage with these interactive content experiences, now you are bringing your history and your preferences into that experience. That can happen on interactive content. That can also just as well happen within, environmental storytelling, lighting design, and scenic and projection mapping and things that really kind of immerse you in spaces. You can have that be reactive to the individual's personalization.
Is it that level of personalization you think that's going to be the new draw, the new impetus for people to get involved, or do you think it's just a component of the business? And I'm going to come to you, Juliana, with a question that will follow on from what Jason is going to say now.
I think everybody wants to accumulate wealth and value, and I think that there is an opportunity within our digital lives to accumulate what we perceive as wealth and value within within our experiences. So, and then by upgrading or up-leveling your experience and having something that is more bespoke or custom to you, it's not so different from your recommended list on Netflix or things that make your life easier, right? So I think that there's inherent value in giving you a better experience to your taste. And I think that that's going to be a big draw for people. And then the other thing is really just applying video game logic to our in real life interactions, right? So applying this ability to earn points or earn coins, and then in turn be able to use those to create real world value is where I think the metaverse and bringing in kind of game logic will go.
And that kind of leads me to the point of really, we have seen sporting events now embrace esports considerably. And we have now just heard that the IOC, the Olympic Committee, are going to be incorporating more digital gaming and esports elements into their experiments going forward. I'm led to believe that next year's Paris Olympics will be one of the first to have a esports demonstration component to it. Away from the esports, we also have to think about the activities and the physical entertainment, the crossover, the ability for people that are in different countries to play together through interactive entertainment elements. Is this, so we say, umbrella of gatherings for sports and entertainment, Juliana, something that your platform will be able to embrace?
Potentially. We are so in the, I would say, the nascent stages of all of where we're at with this. This was such a new adventure and venture for us. It really started in January of last year, launched in June. And I know that we would like to go further with it. We've also talked about ways, as much as it's for people who can't come here to Newport, we're also looking at ways to have it in Newport in the and you'll have to forgive me in the I don't know the exact name of all of the headsets and that we would use for it, but we have a beta version of it going so that you can experience our metaverse and in while you're at the museum itself, and in that way you can start to have that dual experience in person and virtually. We have talked about ways to create more gamification throughout, ways to have more the tennis game. Right now, you play against a computer, but wouldn't it be cool if you and I could play one another if we're both in the metaverse at the same time? Those are all things that we're talking about. Where we go next is I'm not entirely certain. We haven't exactly mapped all of that out. To Jason's earlier point about, in many ways, he's right. We are, I guess, in some ways, a multiverse right now. We are one verse that stands alone. And we looked in the beginning about, should we be part of Decentraland? Should we be part of Roblox or something like that? And we decided to do it independently for now, while that perhaps gets more established. The one thing you can carry through is your avatar, because that is with Ready Player Me. And so I believe if you generate a Ready Player Me anywhere, you can keep that throughout. And so, yes, could you then carry your points and your things to other places? I suppose you could, but we're not, that connectivity has yet to be built on our side.
Thank you very much. And that kind of...
I'm going to jump on Juliana, please. I think, and Juliana, you mentioned NFTs, and they have some form and function, I think, within the decentralized, Web 3.0 conversation. But even, I think what's unique about NFTs is the ability to provide a utility to the asset, a real world utility. Sometimes you're seeing NFTs that can be used as tickets or backstage passes, or, maybe even perks and rewards within something like the Tennis Hall of Fame that can be then rolled out in addition to this, that then really start to bridge, this digital asset has real world value, which I think is an important link to creating this convergence of digital and physical, is creating digital value and real world value in your experience.
And the first industry that's actually achieved that is esports. Really, the ability for the skill set of the player to actually be transcribed into a financial wealth. Sorry, Juliana, you were going to say.
No, I was just going to say, I agree. I think that's so important, because right now, I think that the metaverse experience or the multiverse experience is a very neat thing for people to experience, but I don't know we have to build out more of what's going to keep them coming back. Esports has figured that out, right? With that true gaming component, the connectivity where you're speaking with other people while you're gaming, and potential for money and so on. For all of us on the other side of that, we're creating this unique experience. But from where I am, and I'm a marketer, and my primary day to day is I am overseeing our global brand presence, and people coming back is so important as well, because we want to drive revenue, and ultimately, how do we go about doing that? And so we create this unique experience, and whether it's us or anyone else that's out there creating metaverse type experiences, but what's keeping people continuing to come back? And I think that's the thing that we have to continue to work on. I'm not sure. I know for young people, it's there. But for those of us who are a bit older, why do I want to keep it coming back for more?
Yes, that repeat visitation, be it the platform or the facility, is essential. And there's only really three ways that we can get someone coming back for more. Inquisitiveness, they play an experience or they take part in an experience and they want to know more. social inclusion. They enjoy the environment that they're playing with their friends. And the other one is FOMO, fear of missing out, the draw of wanting to be part of the fashion, part of the smart group, part of the experience. These are all things that are accentuated with a metaverse, because the metaverse will give us a larger platform, a larger, so we say, palette. Get my tongue sorted out. A larger palette for people to expand and design and create and consume. And it is that consumption that I'm interested to touch on in the time we have remaining. You stated fundamentally, Juliana, that there was a level of engagement achieved, and you were thinking about using a head-mounted display like the Meta Quest or something similar to that in consumer application. Have you thought of other technologies that could be utilized in this space?
No, I'm sure our digital innovation group is thinking about that. But at the moment, no. But I love what Jason was talking about, of how they're creating in their theme parks ways that as you go through the park, it's connecting between your in-person experience and what your digital experience could be. And that to me seems like a great marriage of the physical and the digital. And if there were a way for us to do that further, as opposed to, just go over there and have that experience and then come back and carry on through the rest of the museum for your other experience, that seems like a much better way to intertwine and connect the two.
What type of technology are you considering for this application, Jason?
You're talking about for this type of application right now. I think one of the things that you have to look at when you're talking about metaverse applications is something that can be cross-platform. So, we've built our own interface that connects to our resort, our theme park, also our Roblox game and our mobile game and some of these other things. It already connects all these things together. So it's really a proof of concept of what this type of cross-platform metaverse can look like. And that really is all about being web-based. Being web-based and being web-streamed is incredibly important. You look at the success of YouTube in the last 2 decades. Now, more recently, Roblox. What I consider Roblox is the YouTube of gaming, essentially, because it's very accessible to stream games. That's a very important distinction with Roblox, is that you're not having to download a new app to play a new game. You're able to click on an experience and very seamlessly enter that experience. And that is a very powerful way to have people engaging with different apps. And I think that even though the games themselves can be the games, I think that interface and that way of interacting with content is really how we experience content now across the board. It's all about streaming, right? It's all about getting things that you want when you want them. So that's very important to us, is to think about how these things can be streamed. And that's why we're looking at things over the web, using, web GL, web 3D, web AR, all these different web technologies that are now emerging in this new web 3.0 landscape. The idea that you can engage with something from your phone or your PC at home, or have it be redisplayed to you in any different format within a venue, is incredibly important. And I want to touch on the idea of repeat visitation. And the whole idea of, out of home, really, when you're doing an out of home experience, you have to deliver a better product than what people can get at home. A lot of people that are interested in content and gaming, they have these machines. They have big screen TVs at home. Some of them have VR headsets and other ways to experience immersive content. So when you're looking at out-of-home entertainment, you really have to up your game to bring them out of their house. And right now, in the United States, at least, I think really globally, there's a crisis going on. The Surgeon General just issued a massive warning saying that people are suffering from major mental health issues because of loneliness, that loneliness is an epidemic. And yet somehow we're more connected than ever. We're probably spending more time online, more time interacting with digital content, more time even playing these social games and talking with people in these games. But yet there's this loneliness epidemic that's rising that I think it is our responsibility and duty to try and solve as out-of-home entertainment providers and suppliers, to bring people together and connect them in real life through these experiences, but yet not ignore the new reality which we live in, which is this interconnected world where there's value in likes and shares and in games, and bringing some of that game logic into out-of-home entertainment. So when we talk about repeat visitation, I look at it a little bit differently, which is that you're really creating an infinite experience, and the out-of-home entertainment part of it is really the main game loop. And then when you leave that experience, you're back in the lobby, upgrading and improving and training to go back into the main game loop. And so by thinking of it like that, now your out-of-home entertainment experience becomes the main focal point of this experience loop, but it's not the beginning and end. It's actually just the top of that pyramid. So you still have an entire experience that can continue outside of that game loop, where you're earning more points, where you're upgrading your skills, where you're training, where you're battling with your friends or whatever it may be, or competing against your friends and socializing and all these things. But when you come back into that venue, you're bringing essentially a different profile and experience with you when you return.
Well, you've touched on those two aspects of that repeat visitation: the growth of the individual so that they can grow and collect items and accrue a score, and then play at a different level when they return based upon their skill set. And then you've touched upon streaming. And streaming is a vital component where a few decades ago, streaming or broadcasting of content was the preserve of broadcasters, and that they had exclusive control of the camera angles, the information that was imparted, and what they were presenting to their audiences. Streaming has now become egalitarian. Everybody now can stream, some more popular than others, and the streaming of social events talks to the peers of those individuals, those groups, that actually act as a draw to bring more people into the experience. So it becomes a self-fulfilling aspect of, shall we say, one of the alcoves of the metaverse. Because I perceive, I like to try and describe the metaverse, to give my analogy of it, as a stately home or a large manor house, where it is an impressive frontage, and you know that there are multiple rooms within the building. But in each one of those rooms, there is very different opportunities to take upon. And maybe I want to go into the kitchen. Maybe I want to go into the library. Maybe I want to walk around one of the large halls of the building. That is trying to give a physical perception to the metaverse. But fundamentally, it is a building that is constantly growing and getting larger and larger and larger. And where previously we have seen metaverses such as Second Life, such as Roblox, such as Fortnite, as entertainment environments that had multiple facets to it, with Gorilla Tag and with Horizon World, we are seeing environments created that are constantly evolving and constantly growing. And I'm very concerned that at some point in time, we're going to run out of real estate, where each of us will be creating major houses or buildings or structures with multiple components. But fundamentally, we will be creating the same thing, and we will need to connect them. And I see implicitly with the sports side that the sports agencies and the associations will want to take control and create their own Olympic metaverses, as it were. And I can see in the entertainment sector that the entertainment industry will want to create its own metaverse with its entertainment districts. And at some point in time, it may not be a metaverse, a flat plane of multiple environments. It may be a globe, all interconnected and all playing at the same level. With the time we have remaining, I would like each one of you to impart anything that you feel is important to pass on to our audiences, and also give a little bit of information of how you can be connected by our audience members if they have further questions. If you could go first, Jason.
Oh, you want me to go first?
Go ahead, Jason.
Juliana, do you want to go first then?
Yeah, let me think about that question for a moment.
Sorry to drop it on you.
Yeah,
I think I guess from my perspective is this has all been an educational journey in the last 10 or 11 months. To be perfectly honest, I don't sit in the tech world on a day to day. So the concept of, well, we should all create a metaverse together when that came about in January was like, wow, okay, well, what does that even mean? And so it's been a bit of a fast-paced, fast track into understanding and learning what this even means. That said, having gone through the process, I see the value in it from what I was saying earlier, in that we had these digital exhibits, which are one dimensional, and now we have an experience for users that really is a lot more multi-dimensional. I think based upon hearing this conversation today and from what I learned along the way is there's a lot of potential opportunities and growth about where this is all going to go. And from where we are at the Hall of Fame, we're at the very, very beginning stages of that. And I think there are a lot of ways to continue to expand. So I guess I would say for anyone who's maybe a little bit more in my position, not on as heavy on the tech side, I see the value in this, and I would continue to encourage people to look into that further and look into bringing that into your experiential opportunities within your brands and your companies. And because I think that this is the way the world will be going. I think that from a digital experiential, social media at some point is going to evolve. This is sort of an interesting hybrid way of what is in the world of social. There is that socialization aspect of this. There is a different way of interacting with web. I'm sure there will be lots of layers of AI that get put on top of a lot of these experiences in the future. So I feel like myself, and also the Hall of Fame are at the very, very early stages of that. There's probably a lot more advanced areas to go, but if anyone is in that particular position or even debating about whether or not the investment is worth it, I do think it is. I do think there is a lot of ways to go with it, and there's so much to be learned. And I'd encourage those that are listening to jump in a little bit further there and think about how this can help bridge this physical experience that not everybody can experience with a digital experience.
Thank you for that. It is, I always, people talk to me about, oh, you're a technologist, or you specialize in the technology. My main career dream is to move away from the technology and to move to the delivery. If you talk to someone, if you jumped into the time capsule and asked someone about what their perception of social media, they would be concerned in the past about, oh, where am I going to get the right type of camera? What type of computer am I using? What type of software am I using to do this Twitter that you speak about, this X that you speak about, this LinkedIn that you speak about?
Right.
When fundamentally, technology is invisible to us regarding the streaming technologies that are available, the social medias, even what we're using now to record this session. The entry level has been brought so far down that I think we need to get away from the technology and just look more and more at the application. And again, this is where the metaverse comes into its own. And another quick aspect that I want to touch on briefly is that what we perceive as the metaverse now is not going to be what is the future of the metaverse.
For sure.
The same way that when I first started getting involved with the World Wide Web, there was a totally different perception of what that was going to be delivered compared to the realities of the systems and even the smartphones that we are using now, scaling the technology down to the point where it is invisible, it is magic. But Jason, your perspective.
Yeah, well, I would say too, I look at a lot of the ideas that that are brought out when the topic of metaverse comes up, and I look through it through the lens of an experienced designer, as an experienced design company, and I think when people think about the metaverse, they in their heads think of Wreck-It Ralph Breaks the Internet, where you walk up to ask Jeeves a question and you walk to eBay and you take a tram here or there. But I think that is probably, while it makes a great movie, it's probably not what makes sense when you look at what technology we already have available to us. We have such an instant response to how we shop, how we jump through web pages and all these things. We don't need to create more friction or layers or time to get from A to B. It's so much easier to go into a Google browser and type or say what you want than have to go walk over to the Google stall to go ask what you need. So I think when we think about 3D worlds and 3D experiences, we need to make sure we're balancing utility with what is already existing and prevalent and people are expecting and used to. And I think that's where some takes on what a metaverse type of 3D hub world would be get it wrong. Actually, I think that they're not taking into account what people's existing experience is with getting information and content delivered to them. So I think that's it. And I would also say then you have things like Ready Player Me, which is or not Ready Player Me, but Ready Player One, the Spielberg film, and obviously the novel that came before it, but the idea of having this totally digital separate life, which is kind of essentially just a digital twin role-playing game, I don't think that that's the metaverse either. So when people look at these IPs and think of that as the metaverse, I think they're missing the connective tissue here, which is the things that bring value to our everyday lives and experiences in the physical world. I think is the first step until technology gets to the point where we can do this type of meeting all virtually. Right now, we're still doing it through video because we can see each other. We don't have digital doubles that are as emotive or expressive or can connect as well as video can right now. So until we're there, I don't see us going fully virtualized. But that doesn't mean that this whole philosophy of a metaverse can't be applied to really making our lives better today. And I'm not just talking about entertainment experiences. I'm talking about how we engage with any out-of-home experience, retail, shopping, food and beverage, and restaurants. All of these things can be tied in together. And you think about apps that have loyalty points and all these different things, and they're all disparate technologies. How can we look at bringing those things together under one umbrella, under one banner that makes use of the fact that you eat out so many times a week, or that you do this or that, or that you like this particular food and can present you with recommendations or alert you to a new dish that you may like, or these things that can ultimately provide added value, and even from a operator or owner standpoint can help make sales or convert customers into their door.
Of course, it is that loyalty scheme that will be the dwell point. It will also be the point where people bring their trophies and even maybe share a virtual currency. And I think that brings us nicely to the conclusion of this session, because part of what we're doing here is that we will be following on from this recorded session into a metaverse of our own, shall we say, where questions and answers can be given in live virtual environments with a virtual stage and a virtual podium and interaction. And hopefully this is our baby steps towards the future of the all-encompassing metaverse. But let me say with the remaining time, a big thank you to both of you. If you have any information, or if you wanted to supply any details regarding how to contact you, we can roll that into the information that goes out with this session. But once again, I would like to thank you for your time and for your informative discussions. And I would also like to thank our listeners for taking the time to listen to this session. Have a very good day, and I look forward to speaking to you all.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you.